Welcome to Anything for Sports. My name is Drew Jackson. Today with me, I have Tia Alofipo, who is a captain at Liberty High School. She plays for the volleyball team and is a senior. She made first team, and we're happy to have her here. Tia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to jump right into it because I think we have an interesting sports journey here that got you to playing volleyball and where you're at now. So we're gonna roll the clock back a little bit before that. So start me kind of at your earliest sports years that you can think of. What was the first sport you started with, and kind of how did you get into playing sports?
Okay, so the first sport that I started with was soccer, and that's only because my parents we had four brothers and two sisters, so we all kind of played the same sports at first, and then we figured out what we wanted to do later on in life. And soccer was not in any of our experience, like our journey for sports. So yeah, soccer was my first sport, and I did not like it because I remember getting hit in the face with a wet soccer ball, and I was like, I don't want to play this
This is
anymore.
done. So
I
what
don't.
position did you play?
I honestly don't even. It was like a
It
little
was just
league.
like I
It
like
was
a
like when
little.
I was like in
Okay,
kindergarten. So I don't even remember what sport. I just remember kicking the ball and scoring.
okay. And then one day they were like header, and
Yeah,
you
and
were
I was
like
like, I'm done.
no, and you were like that's enough of that.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so then soccer was over.
Mhm.
What came next?
I played. It was either basketball or softball.
Okay,
One of the two. I forgot which one came first.
fun softball.
So I played basketball
Okay.
because my older sister, she's 6 years older than me, and she was playing in either middle school or high school, I think. But she wanted me to play because my dad wanted me to be like her as well. So
Okay.
they were like,
Like,
"Oh, you
get
should
in
just
here.
play basketball." And I was playing the same position as her. She was a point guard.
Okay.
So like they had me playing as a point guard, and I just did not like it either
No.
because I don't know. It just wasn't me. I wanted to be more competitive, but I wanted it more on me.
So in
I don't know.
basketball, are you a scorer, defense? Like, what did you feel like you wanted to do?
I feel like I don't I just wanted to take the ball away from other kids.
Okay.
I
So
just wanted to
defense.
take
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanted the ball in my hands at all times.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah. The only thing I remember doing for that was just running up and down the court.
Okay. So your sister's older than you?
Yeah, she is.
By how much?
6 years.
So you were kind of like following her footsteps a
Yeah.
little bit. And then she played basketball.
Mhm.
And at some point, you stopped playing basketball.
Yeah, I stopped playing, a year after I started, so
Okay. So, okay. Soccer's done. Basketball's out.
yeah.
We're on to softball.
Softball. Mhm.
Okay.
I actually did like softball. I started because I had a friend from volleyball. Wait, no. I had a friend from basketball.
Got it.
Sorry. I had a friend from basketball that was playing softball, and she was like, "Oh, you should come play with my team." And I was like, "Okay." So the team that I played for was called Taine Malohi. Uh it was more of a Polynesian team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like I would fit in this team really well. And like it kind of felt like I was playing with my family, like I was playing with
Right.
my cousins and everything like that, and it was really fun, so I liked playing like that, but sitting in the outfield was just so boring. I hated it.
Just patting your
Yeah, I was like,
gloves. Just
"Okay." And it wasn't anything competitive either because,
right.
like, we're a young team, like, nothing's gonna be all the way in the
Happen.
outfield, like,
Yeah.
I'm waiting there the whole game getting burnt, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm done with this, I don't wanna play it anymore."
Okay. So how long about do you think we made it in softball?
I think I played for 2 years
In 2
or
years. Okay.
yeah,
Got a couple
something around
seasons under your belt. So you
yeah.
played outfield. Were you decent at hitting? We got good
Oh,
hand-eye.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, with what I've seen for volleyball, which we'll
Yeah.
get to, like hand-eye coordination is there.
Yeah. There's a lot in volleyball. Like you have to see everything in volleyball, not just from a defensive perspective, but you also know what the offense is seeing. Have to know what the offense is seeing too, because like when the offense is going up for a block, you
Hmm.
have to see the block too
Right.
in order to move around
Right.
the block and to like be in the little like crevices of the block. So when the ball gets hit, it's either going in this gap or that gap, or it's touching the top of their hand. So you just got to see everything in
Okay.
volleyball.
So let's get to volleyball. So softball, it's not
Mm-mm.
really it. So is there anything after that? And like
Um.
what age are we at about now? So end of softball, about 2 years. Are we in middle school, high
Okay, end of
school?
softball, I'm pretty sure I was 13? Like 13?
Third day?
13 or
Okay.
12.
So like
12 or
seventh, eighth
13.
grade, right
Yeah,
about to
yeah.
start high school.
Yeah, around that. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so this whole
But that
time
was, like, later. You only went to take me she took me sorry,
No, go,
I'm, like,
go,
cutting
go.
you off.
Hey,
She
go.
she took me to a clinic or
Mhm,
a training with the volleyball team. That was because my dad's niece, she was a coach for a club down in Utah.
mhm.
Yeah, a club down in Utah, and she wanted me to, like, train and work out with them. So, I didn't do anything like volleyball with them. I was just training most of the time. I wasn't really on a team.
Okay, so before volleyball, you grew up where? What city, what state?
West Valley.
West
Yeah,
Valley.
West Valley, Utah.
So what is the sports like, what is it like? First, I'm interested what the Polynesian community is like
It's
in
crazy.
Utah,
Uh,
and then what was it like in, like, the sports community and growing up there?
in the beginning, like, early stages of my life, I
Mhm.
was living in West Valley,
Okay.
and we moved, like, when I was in 1st grade or kindergarten. So I grew up there for, like, my childhood or whatever.
Mhm.
And then I moved to Bountiful area,
Okay.
and that's, like, deeper in Salt Lake. So, like, in the mountains.
Yeah.
So I lived there for a couple of years, I think 2 or 3, and then we moved to St. George,
Mhm.
and we stayed there for a little bit, and then we moved back to Utah, and we stayed there for 4 years.
Okay.
And then we moved here, I believe. We
So,
moved
big Polynesian community in
in
Utah?
Utah? Yes.
Really? Is
Yes.
it a big Mormon Polynesian community?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I think
There's,
I talked either
like
to Adrian or no, it was Aaliyah because we were talking about BYU, and I
oh,
was
right, right,
like,
right.
I wouldn't guess that Polynesian. So I'd asked her, I think when you think of most cultures, you can usually put a religion to it. Like if you're
Yeah,
thinking like especially when I was growing up, like most of my Mexican friends, parents and grandmas were like all Catholic.
Catholic,
Like,
right.
so you kind of know. But when
Mhm.
I thought of Polynesian, I was like, I don't immediately associate
Mm,
one religion like in my head immediately with it. And so I talked to her
okay,
about like,
yes.
going to BYU and the like Polynesian community. She's like, no, there's actually like
A lot.
a pretty big like Mormon like
Community,
community
right.
in the Polynesian community. And I
Yeah,
found that like
there's a lot, and
interesting.
there's even wards. So, when you're Mormon, there's specific wards that you go to, like,
Okay.
it's the same church, but it's wards, like, it would be, like, a Mapusanga ward or, a Vista ward.
Right.
It's just a set time that you go to church, and that's what
Got
their
it.
ward name is.
Okay.
So, there was, like, Polynesian wards after the English ward. So the
Hmm.
Polynesian ward would be, like, in Polynesian, they would speak either Samoan or Tongan,
Got it.
and most of the Polys would go to one of those
To
wards.
that one.
Mhm.
Okay. That
But they're
makes
speaking about the same thing. They're
It's
speaking
just gives you a little bit it's well, a little bit more personal
Mhm.
for, like, your community, and
Yeah.
again, it's a language, if they're gonna do it in
Mhm.
your language.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I never like, even before talking to Leah, I never would've guessed, like, Polynesian,
Yeah, right.
Mormon, like, together. So I
Yeah.
don't know too much about Mormon, so my wife works for a company that's out of Salt Lake, and they're, like, she's, like, remote, and everyone else is there, so
Mhm.
they're, like, all Mormons.
Yeah.
So I've been learning, like, a
A
lot
lot,
more
yeah.
about the community,
Yeah.
but they're, like, white Mormons, like,
Right.
I
Like
think a little different
right.
than Polynesian
Yeah.
Mormons. So then Salt Lake in Utah, just Utah, we're gonna call it as a whole, all the way basically up till high school,
Mhm.
and then right about 2020/COVID, we said, "Alright, Las
Yes.
Vegas." So tell me about that transition and
Okay.
what that was like.
Okay, so I was in 8th grade at the time. And then when we had moved, we didn't know COVID was gonna happen. We didn't
Right.
know any of that was gonna happen. But we moved the same exact day that they had like that whole outbreak.
Yeah.
Everything was going crazy, and we were like, "What's happening?" We
Oh.
were like, "Uh-oh!" Like we don't know anyone. We don't have any friends here. We had one of our family members, but they lived like further down from we were because we lived in Anthem,
Mhm.
and we only had them that we knew in Las Vegas. But when we moved here, we had no type of connections with anyone, so we had to
Okay.
just rebuild everything when COVID stopped.
Right.
Because we couldn't go out, we couldn't go to gyms, we couldn't do anything, everything was shut down.
Right.
So, I don't know, I feel like it was a really, like, different time for us to get around because we had never experienced that. Like, I know it was hard for people, like, dealing with COVID and everything like
Mhm.
that, but we moved to a whole different
Right.
state, like, we were I don't know, it was just so different, and we were Mormon, by the way, we were Mormon before that, and then when we moved to Vegas, we're atheists now, so yeah,
Okay.
so big transition.
Okay, so we left Mormon in Utah, we crossed state lines, and Mormon just didn't come with us.
Yeah.
Okay, when you came here, did you, like, personally have an idea of, like, again, you didn't know COVID was gonna happen. Were you still playing a sport then? Like, you thought you were gonna come to high school and play not volleyball? 'Cause
Okay.
like, when you moved, that's when you started volleyball. So did you move thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna start this when I get there," or did you think like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to high school and play basketball again or
Oh, yeah.
softball?"
Sorry,
Go,
before that,
go for it.
I forgot to tell you that I did cheer and tumbling and dance, so I
Okay,
did that.
let's drop those in there. So
I did that
cheer,
before.
tumbling, dance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now I'm, like,
let's
backtracking, and
do
I
it.
feel
We
bad.
gotta rewind,
Okay.
small rewind.
So, I did cheer when I was younger as well
Mhm.
because I don't know, I loved going to my brother's football games, and I just wanted to be there all the time, so my mom signed me up for, like, this I forgot what it's called, it was, like, little
Yeah, Dora, we just did
I
that with
don't even know.
Liberty, like the little what is it called?
Yeah, I know what
We
you're
just
talking
did
about.
that same thing.
I
Yeah.
forgot what it's called, but I was in there and I was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
love this. It's so fun. I'm moving around." And then I learned how to do like a back handspring in like 2 days. So
You're like,
I
"Got it."
was like, "Okay, I know how to do this." And then my parents said that I would probably be good at tumbling. So I was like,
So did you
"Okay."
do cheer before tumbling?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they were like, "Oh, you I think you'd be good at tumbling." And I was like, "Okay, so I'll try it." I tried that for a little, and there was a dance studio in the tumbling,
Mhm.
like, community, so I did both at the same time.
Okay.
So, I didn't really like dance because I was just like, I'm not there's no ball contact here,
What
like, I'm
kind of
not."
dance was it? Was it
It
general or
was
was it
like
like
hip hop or
hip?
something. I was
Alright.
like I
Get
was
it.
younger though, but I was just like, "Okay, I can't memorize all this right now,
Okay.
like, I'm just not gonna do it." But when I was in tumbling, they had me there was, like, a long I forgot what it's called. It's like, those bouncy little
Oh, yeah, like the
that
long
they
bouncy
flip on.
mats. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, they had me, like, do stretches on that at first, like, the first practice, and we were having, like they were conditioning us, like, for young kids. I was like, "Wow, this
Like
is."
hard.
Yeah, I was like, "This is crazy, but I kinda like it." Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually doing something. I like keeping myself active and,
Right.
like, actually sweating, so I was like,
Yeah. So
"Okay,
it was intense.
yeah, I was like, "Okay, I like this." And then it was also competitive because girls wanted to do more back handsprings than this person or more cartwheels than this
Yeah.
person. I was like I remember one time they told us to do as many back handsprings as we can, like, across the bouncy mat or whatever, and I pulled up with 11, and I was like I stayed in the same spot, and I was like, "How did I stay in the same spot?" They were like, "This is crazy."
Eh.
And then, I don't know, I kinda just grew out of it. I was like, "I don't think I can do this,"
So
but
did you
yeah.
do, like, competitive at all? Or were you
Mm-mm.
just like okay, you
It
were
was
just,
just
like,
for fun. It
training,
was just
just like
like yeah,
yeah.
something I can keep myself active with, but that
Okay.
was when I was younger.
So
Anyways.
then again, when you're transitioning to Las Vegas,
Mm.
before you started volleyball, did you have an idea what sport you would play when you started high school?
Okay, so I was already thinking of volleyball because
Oh, okay.
when I was training with them, I liked the whole community about it, like,
Mhm.
and even the workouts too. I liked it too. Like we were always constantly moving and like for volleyball, it's not you're just not doing one thing. It's you're passing, you're setting, you're hitting, you're looking at everywhere from around the court and there's different positions. You have the setter, defensive specialist, and I don't know. It's just like a lot going on, and there's only 6 people on the court, so you just have to make it work.
Right.
And that I kind of liked how that worked because everyone is competitive in that matter. Like there's not just I feel like people look at hitters more as oh they're the ones that's scoring points, but it's also like when you're a defensive player, you have to be the ones to dig that up. You have to be the
Right.
ones to save it from touching the ground, and then the setters, you guys have to set it up perfectly for a hit to go down.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I just like the aspects of how volleyball worked, and so I was already thinking about, playing volleyball, but my dad was like, "You should do cheer, cause then you could go to the football games
Yeah.
and you could go to these games, and it's just like it's year round and you'll be set." And I was like, "I don't know. Sounds a little too girly for me." I was
Right.
like, "I don't know." I was like, "I don't know if I can deal with that, honestly,"
So
but
did any other siblings move out with you guys?
all of them.
Okay. Are there
So all of
any
us
that are
moved.
in your same age range? Like where you guys went to high school like
Okay, so
together-ish?
yeah, so when we had moved, my older sister had graduated, and and my brother is Ski. He's my second oldest,
Okay.
and he was actually on his mission. So,
Oh.
you know what that
Yeah.
is? It
So
was actually on his
let's
mission.
pretend I don't, and
Uh-huh.
tell me about what a mission is and how long you go
Okay.
on a mission for.
Okay. So when you're in the Mormon community, when you're in the Latter-day Saints, um, you when you turn a specific age, like 17 or 18, you're able to go on a mission.
Hmm.
And that's all your choice. So you get sent a letter from the stake center, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah,
Something in the higher
headquarters.
the higher priesthood. And so he wanted to go on his mission, so he put in a file for that,
Hmm.
and he got it back. He went to Apia, Samoa, and that's actually where my dad was born.
Okay.
So he went to Apia, Samoa. It was all good, and he was there for 10 months.
So did he? So I was just talking to. I had mentioned Trinity,
Mhm.
who plays for UNLV, the Gatorade Player of the Year last year, came in. She was the last guest on the podcast.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was talking to her dad this past week. They have a 6-year-old that goes to the same school as Dora. So we
Mhm.
do drop offs and they stand outside. And he was talking about his mission. So in
Okay.
college, high school going, no, college,
Oh,
he
really?
was like playing baseball, had basically an offer to go professional and had a 2-year mission. Like they got the call.
Crazy, right?
So he couldn't like go up to the majors. He went on a mission but you said where your brother went. And my question was going to be, and I kind of knew the answer from what he told me, but like, did he have a choice in location? Because
Mm-mm.
yeah, so he had like another friend who got sent to France,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, I hear about all these
Uh,
like luxurious places. He's like, oh, everybody gets to go to a mission somewhere cool, and he
right.
got like I forget, it was either like Pittsburgh
Like
or like
Texas, like,
Philadelphia,
right?
some like super American, super rough
Uh,
area, but it wasn't like, a foreign country.
right.
He's like, like,
Like,
everybody's
whatever,
they're
yeah.
picking, they're like Hawaii, everybody's picking
Yeah.
France.
Guatemala,
And
yeah.
he pulls in there, he's like, Philadelphia. Like, so
I'd be so mad.
was your brother happy, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah, he was really
Like
happy,
what are
our
the
whole fam
chances he gets,
so,
that choice, right?
yeah. So, usually when we do the mission call openings, we have, like, we have family and friends come over just to, like, celebrate that moment with us. So, we had all of our family and some of his friends,
Mhm.
and when he had opened it, he actually cried, and I had never seen my brother cry, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Whoa," like, he's actually crying, like, for
Yeah.
this, so it was, like, a moving experience for him because he gets to see where my dad grew up and
Yeah.
see how our culture is, but from a different perspective,
And
like,
you guys have never been
mm,
like,
yeah, we had never visited or anything, so we were all happy for him. We were
yeah.
like, "This is such a good way," and he's learning, like, the traditions, like, the real traditions and
Mhm.
seeing it firsthand and, like, learning the language, and he came back teaching us the language as
Yeah.
well, so it was really fun.
And so he stayed there for 2 years?
Actually, okay, so for when COVID happened,
Mhm.
I think in a couple of states that they had to get sent back.
Yeah, cause
Just for precautions and everything like
yeah, cause
that.
you don't wanna get, like,
Yeah,
trapped in a different country when
right.
they close the border. You never knew, like, we didn't know when it was gonna open
Yeah,
back up. Like,
exactly.
COVID coulda last forever.
So, we didn't want him to get, like, stuck
Stuck in,
there
yeah.
somewhere, so I'm pretty sure he stayed there for either 10 to 13 months.
Okay.
So, it was still a year, like,
Yeah, yeah.
he'd already been there for quite a while.
Mhm.
But we got to talk to him, like, every Monday, so it was good still. We had some kind of communication with him. But, yeah, he stayed there for a while, and he came back. And he was like, "So are we going to church?" And we were like,
Yeah.
"Oh." We were like, "Actually,
So that
about
decision
that."
happened while he was gone.
Yes. I felt so bad. I was like,
It's like,
"Yeah, so
"Have a seat. We're gonna have
basically."
to
Yeah.
tell you." Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't have to answer, but I'm gonna ask a question. So, family decision? Because it sounds like
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't just you weren't just like, "Oh, I've come to this conclusion."
No,
It was
okay.
like "Hey, we've decided as a
Well,
unit."
okay. So, my dad was the one that brought it up to us
Mhm.
first, and he was already questioning, like, "This is weird, this sounds really man-made." We were all like, "No, you're going crazy," like,
Right.
because we were all mad at him at first. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
like, "No, we've been here for so long, all
Right.
our lives, we've been taught this, this, and that, like, why are you questioning God?" And so it was kind of like a hard place for him to come out to us, like,
Mhm.
about the situation, and we were also still young, and we didn't read other books because, "Oh, the Bible is the only book you can trust. The Book of Mormon is the only book you can trust," and
Mhm.
we didn't think of going out and reading other books about humanity and everything like that. So my dad had we had a family meeting. He brought us all in the living room and he had told us about it and we were all really mad, like,
Yeah.
for like a week. And then he
We're
was
not
like,
talking to you,
yeah,
dad.
so he was like, he brought us again. He brought us in together again
Yeah.
and he brought a book and
Mhm.
it was about sapient, like Homo sapiens
Yeah,
and like our early human stages of life. And I'm pretty sure he also brought a book that was about the brain.
yeah. Okay.
So we read that as a family. We read both of those books as a family every week, every day, actually. We
Mhm.
read every day at a specific set time. And he was just like kind of showing us his perspective on
Got it.
how why um he swayed his ways or whatever. But we we started to understand what he was looking at. We started
Mhm.
to understand where he was coming from and we started to be more accepting of it because it was actually making sense. And he was the one that was actually like, I don't want you guys to feel like I'm forcing my beliefs on you guys so
Mhm.
you guys can believe whatever you want, but this is where I'm standing. This is where what I'm looking at from this perspective. And we kind of just accepted it and we were just like, it makes sense. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And we were just like, I'm, I believe what he's talking about
Okay.
because
So
there's more
how does your
behind it.
brother take it when he gets back? You guys are like, "All right, family meeting." And he's just coming back from a
He's
mission,
just
so
coming
he's
back from
in it.
a
He's like,
mission. Yeah.
"Hey."
Yeah.
So he's
No,
leveled up.
my dad was a high councilman and she was in the Relief Society for.
Okay.
So yeah, there was like it was hard. It was different because we were like, how are you guys all in this
Right.
high level? And then we're just not anymore the
Yeah.
next within the year. So
Okay.
my brother came back and he was just so confused. He was like, what are you guys talking
Yeah.
about? Like, read the book, like read the book. And like it was so I was like, I'm sorry. Like I felt so bad for him because like imagine just wait like not wasting your time because it was a good experience,
Yeah.
but like going on a mission for God, like,
Yeah.
and then coming back and he's like, "Oh, we don't believe in God." I feel like he I don't think he ever told us how he felt, but
Mhm.
I know that he felt some type of way, like, I don't know, like it was
Spent a lot of
yeah,
time, like,
it was
committing
like
to the
right,
journey,
and
right?
we
Like
had been in that community for such a long time, it was hard for him to just accept, and then we were kind of like, "You can still believe what you want, like,
mhm.
we're not trying to force you to believe what we want, but, like, you can figure this out on your own and, like, choose kind of what you want to believe in. You don't even have to choose either. But
Okay.
yeah, we kind of like we all gave each other like a free kind of like mindset like believe what you want. We're not going to force you to do anything because in our culture and like our family traditions, it was always a tradition to just be in church, like to just be Mormon when you were born. You can't change anything about that. It's like it was like
Right.
our normal lives. It was like a daily thing that we had to study, we had to do our prayers, we had to read the Book of Mormon every
Mhm.
night, and then go to church on Sundays and repeat, and then do that with our children.
Yeah.
My dad didn't want to do that. He didn't want us to, I don't know, feel like we were enclosed in such a like a judgmental space too. Like he was just like, you guys can believe what you want, study on your own, and come back whenever. I don't know,
Okay.
but yeah,
Alright, it's interesting. So, no, I think that's I mean, as a family, like, usually, I think that type of stuff would happen one by one, right?
hmm
Like, first, the rebellious daughter comes home, and she's like, "Mom, I just came home from college, and they said Santa's not real." Like,
right,
and, and then but you guys as a family saying like, "Hey, we had this" I wouldn't wanna say ritual, but, like, this was a family experience that you guys have been doing
hmm
together for so long, like a tradition,
right,
for so long that then you're like, "Okay." He felt like since he was going through this decision-making process, it was still a family decision, and, "Hey,
right,
because this has been a part of our family for so long, I'm gonna sit you guys down and let's talk about, like, my views, how you guys
yeah,
feel." So it wasn't just, like, him coming to you guys like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing."
yeah,
It was a family
yeah,
call, like, that everybody got
uh-huh.
say so, and you guys got to take your time and, like, think
Mhm.
about it, and, then he gave you some information
Yeah,
on, like,
and
his
we all
views and
made
stuff, and y'all were like
yeah, we all made, like, our comments before, and we were all saying this and saying that, but we all kind of just saw each other from a mental, like, standpoint, like, our mindsets were kind of at the same pace, like, when we were doing our reading together,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it was just like we were all learning the same information, so we saw it from the same type of standpoint, and it was easier that way to kind of choose what we wanted to believe in or not. And obviously, like, some of us, like, took a while for us
Right.
to not believe in God because,
Out of the family clan, did anybody stay with the religion?
no, I think my mom she wanted to stay the longest out of
Yeah.
all of us. All of us were like, "Yes, we don't get to go to church on Sundays." Like, right?
Yeah.
But my mom was like, she was the one that was like, "No,
I'm assuming she spent
it's
a
so."
long time in it. She,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, was a certain level within the community. Like,
Right.
again, same as going on a mission. You spend that much time, like, committed
Yeah.
to something, you're like,
Yeah.
you're invested. It's hard to just
Yeah.
be like, all right,
I feel
I'm
like
out.
it was my mom and my brother that kind of like it took a while for them to, you know, kind of think about it in our way, but they it was just it was like such a strong connection when they were younger. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, everything was kind of just put into their heads. Like there was nothing else but that religion in our heads. So it was the only thing that we were thinking of. But my mom had been in it longer, and she had actually like her family was like really big in that community. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I find that, like, that's a really cool story. It's like, I like all religion. So I grew up, I remember probably up to age like 5 or 6, we went to, like, the normal Christian, normal people church. I call it
Mm.
normal white people church.
Right.
And then at that point, my mom stopped taking us. She's a single parent, and we didn't practice. And even then, like, we were just going to, like, the little kids' church in,
Mhm.
like, the basement, like, coloring. It wasn't real church. It
Oh,
was
like
just, like,
nursery,
coloring and
like
stuff.
yeah.
So we never really gotten brought into it. And for me, it became like a blessing. One is you're a kid, you get all that time back.
Yeah.
But two, like, I didn't have any imprint of anything. So then I got to kind of make that decision whenever I was ready for myself
Mhm.
where, like, I wanted to fall. And I remember
Right.
my mom through, like, high school and stuff. She went through, like, I think some different phases where she did like a specific church, and I remember she had some Jehovah Witness friends. I feel
Oh,
like that's the
nice.
Midwest Mormon, like Jehovah's
Mm.
Witnesses. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think like I'd never heard a Mormon when I moved out
Oh,
here.
really?
Like, I don't know in the Midwest if that was like I'd never seen a Mormon church or temple. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jehovah Witnesses are Mormon
Oh.
in Wisconsin. So she went through those, and so I ended up just appreciating all religions, but in a
Mhm.
similar like atheist space
Yeah.
of I kind of told myself, and my decision was as long as I'm a good person, that whatever happens when I die, I'm good with it. I'm like, I'm
Right.
just going to be good while I'm here, help people, treat
Yeah.
people right. And whether I die and Mormon was right, or this was right, or that was right, I'm like,
And oh, well. Yeah,
whoever
good.
should be able to look at me and be like, ah, he did the right thing.
Right.
Like, he did a good job
Yeah.
and he just didn't make a decision.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting, like, family dynamic and journey that you guys went through. And man, you move to Las Vegas and it just corrupts you. Like,
Yeah.
no
Crazy.
religion here. Just
I
kidding. This is a very wholesome place to live. Please join us.
please.
Okay. So we had some interest in
Mhm.
volleyball. COVID kind of happens. We then get into sophomore year and school starts, like
Mhm.
on premise school where you're going and did you really meet anybody that first year with COVID? Like, other kids your age? Did you get to
No.
really do
No.
anything?
Well, I met this one girl,
Mhm.
and it was only one. Her name was Charlize because so they had us come back freshman year, I think, like during the ending when they did that hybrid schedule,
Yeah,
when it was
like
either
the
like
A and
some
B or
yeah,
something
like
like
some
that.
kids can come and some kids can
Yeah,
still do online. So I was like, oh, I want to go just to
yeah.
see.
I'm done
There
being
was
at
no
home.
one in class, so I was like,
Right.
okay, but there was only one person that I met
Okay.
out of that year.
So then sophomore year starts, you start getting, like, the high school experience. Volleyball tryouts comes.
Mhm.
Talk to me what you did to get ready for tryouts, and then what was tryouts like? Because this is kind of like when you're starting volleyball, your sophomore year in high school. So you're 15,
Yeah,
16.
14 because I skipped the grade.
Okay, so you're a
Yeah.
smarty pants,
No.
and you're a smarty pants, and so you're 14, but that's like a late start to any sport,
Yeah.
right? So how did you, like, get yourself ready to try out for, like, high school when you're like, "Man, I've only been doing this for, a little bit of time, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be going up against girls that probably been doing this since they were
Yeah. I
little.
was, like, kinda scared. I was really scared
So
because
did
I was,
you,
like, high
like,
school.
practice? Did you have any time to, like, prep kinda for it?
Yeah. Okay, so when we first moved here, my mom was, like, trying to look for clubs that I could go to and train with them,
Mhm.
but their tryouts had already been done, like, their practices are already going on, everything's already for club.
Right.
So, I was just like, "I don't know, like, we can keep trying to look for some." So, we had a recommendation from someone at Club V in Utah, and
Mhm.
it was to come to the one here in Aces. So, we talked to the coach at Aces, and he said that he could, have me train with them with the local team, and that was, like, in the middle of their year, so I didn't really get much of, like, playing time or anything like that, and it ended earlier than travel teams did. So I kind of played with them for a little bit, but that's all. I wasn't even a libero, I was a hitter
Okay.
on their team, and, like, imagine, like, a 5'2" hitter, like,
So
the
you got
competitiveness.
hops like that?
No.
A little bit? A
Like,
little bit?
hopefully, like, I mean,
Okay.
kind of,
Kind
but
of, okay.
not enough for high school,
Not
like,
right. Different
I was
level.
like, "How am I supposed to be a hitter in high school,
Yeah.
like, against these, like, 6'2" Right, so, I played with them for a little, but the competitiveness was not there at all.
Mhm.
It was just like bump, set, spike. It wasn't any other, like,
Right.
mechanics into that, so, when I so I trained with them for a little bit. It was cool, it was whatever, and then I went in for the tryouts, and it was so different. I was like there was 2 sessions, and I wanted to go to the second one
Mhm.
because I think it was with the older girls, and I just wanted to go because I like being competitive. Because when I play with competitive people, I play better.
You level up.
Yeah, I love
You
right,
play to the
I play
level
to
of the
their level.
competition. Yeah.
So, I wanted to, like, show them, like, whatever
Yeah.
that comes out of this, like, I know I can put up with a competitive team.
Right.
So, I went there and I was like, "Ah, I'm probably just gonna make JV or
Yeah.
something." And then I got a call back and they're like, "Yep, you're on varsity." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like
I picked the right sport.
right, yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, that's crazy, but they were like, "But you're not gonna be a hitter, you're gonna be a defensive specialist." And I
Right.
was like, "Oh, I don't know how to play that." So
So was it a lot different than, like, what you said, the volleyball that I love? Just the bump, set, spike? I think, like, back to, like, middle school, went to Roosevelt Middle School, played for the Phantoms.
oh,
Ooh, I was good, and
nice.
all the positions just rotated in a
In a
circle,
circle. Yeah,
and it was just so simple, where I feel like that's kind of what you came from, was more of the, like, just basic, and
base
then you got thrown into, like, high
like
school
plays
varsity,
and
which has,
yeah.
so how did you originally, like, pick up that dynamic and then get placed into the position that you're now in, which
Okay.
is Labero?
Mhm. So, when I first came to high school, they had, like, our first practice. They had, like, certain plays that they ran. They ran 5-1 or a 6-2,
Mhm.
and I was so confused. I just sat
Okay,
there
I'm
like
confused right
yeah,
now,
I was
so
like, "Okay, so a 5-1 is when you run with 1 setter,
okay.
and the others are just whatever. And then a 6-2 is when you run with 2 setters, but you
Mhm.
have to rotate with the setters, like, there's a back row setter or a front row setter." So, that's what a 5-1 and a 6-2 is, but there was also, like, rotations and spots that you can serve on the court, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Okay.
And I didn't know any of that. I was like, the coach would be like, "Tia, serving 1." And I'm like, Okay, which corner of the court is that?" Like, I'm just gonna serve,
Yeah.
hoping it's the right place, like so I didn't know any of that, and Lexi was the libero that was starting that year, my sophomore year,
Mhm.
and she kind of helped me with a lot of the dynamics of how to play volleyball, and I don't know, like, being with her and, like, being, like, her backup or a defensive specialist playing back row with her was just it kind of gave me a better, like, mindset, and I what's the word? Perspective,
Perspective?
perspective on how to see the court
Yeah.
fully, and, like, I don't know, it was just good because she knew exactly what everything was, like, she knew exactly where to go, where the block was, where what rotation it was, so I
And so
was
she was
just
a
like
senior?
she was a senior,
Was
yeah.
this was she also on the dance team?
Mm-mm,
No, different Lexi. Okay.
yeah.
So she
Alexis Batesel,
so
she's
she
in
was a
Moxie.
senior starting libero,
Mhm,
I'd imagine, and then so you were kinda, like, training and, like,
yeah,
coming up, like, behind her.
yeah,
So you're like, "Hey, I got a chance when she graduates,
right, yeah,
bam, I'm in there."
yeah. So, Yeah, she was kind of the person that I looked up to during my high school season
Mhm.
because she taught me almost everything I know now. So I'm very grateful for her. But yeah, it was hard for a little to figure out how to play like the rotations and how to see the block, how to see different things on the court that you never would have expected to like that volleyball you really have to see all this like
Right.
cuz when people think of volleyball it's just like a game of hot potato. Like you
Yeah.
just can't let the ball drop. That's
Yeah,
all.
so I have a question for all the casual volleyball fans out there, like, watching it. Are there plays and things that happen when so again, we're gonna explain some volleyball rules. So I'm gonna first have you we're gonna break down some rules for everybody. So first, tell me how many times you can hit it on one side of the net
Okay.
before it has to go over.
3.
Okay.
Only 3.
Second, break down for me how the volleyball scoring system works. Cause I remember the first game I went to, I'm like, how long is this game gonna
Yeah.
take? Like what is the clock situation? So break down to me how many points, how do you win a volleyball game? How many sets there are, all that.
Okay. So for freshman and JV, it's always going to be 3 sets to win. So if you win the first set, the points go to 25.
Okay.
So that's a game. But if you are say let's say the score is 25-25,
Mhm.
you have to beat them by another 2 points.
Okay. So win by 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that, but the games usually just end at 25. And then for varsity, it's 5 sets. So you have to win out of 5 sets, 3 games.
3. Okay.
So in the either the 5th or 3rd set, if you do go to that extent, like that's the tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker only goes to 15. So that's for the last
So if
game.
each team wins 2 sets
Mhm.
to 25, the final game only goes to 15.
Yes.
I feel like a volleyball match could be super short or it could be super
Or
long.
super
Like,
long, yeah.
'cause you could just go and crush a team,
Yeah.
like 25, 25, 25, and
Mhm.
be out. Or you win one, they win one, you
You
win
wanna
one, they win one, and then the 15 at the end.
Yeah, and that's like
Just
the
like
most
I feel like that's like an
nerve-wracking. It's like
overtime game,
it's
like in
so
basketball,
crazy.
where you're
Yeah.
just like,
It is
yeah,
basically something like that. Yeah, it just gets so competitive in the last set. It's like a it's either you break or you have to like get past that point and just play your hardest.
yeah.
So, I don't know, people have different mindsets on how to play like during that 5th and the last set and the 5th set. So, it's different.
So these plays that I was kind of mentioning before, so like the main setter
Mhm.
is getting you generally the second hit, right?
Yes.
Like ball comes over, you save it, something crazy. It then goes to the setter, and the setter is setting up a hitter,
Mhm.
but they're picking, I'm assuming as they're making this play, who they're passing to. So I'll be watching because I'm filming
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to predetermine where they're
Where they're
going.
gonna hit, yeah.
And sometimes they're going to the person behind them. Sometimes they're going to the middle person. Sometimes they're going to Jada on the far side,
Yeah.
right? How do you know if you're a hitter? Like, okay, I'm Jada on the far
Mhm.
side. The ball's on the left side. It's getting set all the way to Jada. How does she know it's coming to her and not going to the middle person or the back? Or do you just judge it once the setter is like, "Okay, this one's coming to me, I'm going." Because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it seems like the person knows,
Yeah.
like,
Or
that it
sometimes they're like,
or
"Oh."
sometimes they're, like,
Yeah.
not sure.
Okay, when the game first starts,
Mhm.
every set or every point, I say, either whether we are serving or whether the other team is serving, the setter calls out plays beforehand. Like they'll lift their shirt. Like I feel like you've seen that. They'll lift their shirt and like be like
Yeah.
1, 2, or
Yeah, yeah.
3. So they'll look at each of the hitters and tell them what they're gonna run on a good pass.
Got it.
So they'll be like, on a good pass, you're gonna run this, or on a bad pass, you're gonna run this. So the hitters don't exactly know when they're gonna be set, but they know that they have to stay ready for whether. So it starts with the pass. So when they see that the pass is good, they're gonna be like, oh, that one's probably coming to
Coming to
me,
me.
so I'm
Yeah.
gonna be ready. But for hitters, they're just gonna have to go either way. You have to stay ready.
Yeah.
You can't just wait there waiting for the ball to be set because then it's too late.
Yeah.
You have to just go right when the ball hits the setter's hands. You just have to approach at that point. So yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, again, more beginner volleyball knowledge here. So your team's serving the ball. It's not you, let's say somebody else is
Mhm.
serving. There's 3 people that stand right at the front of the net. Are they facing the server or are they facing the net?
They're facing the net.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is so funny.
Yeah.
I think back again to middle school, like, just people
You guys
getting
just
beamed in the back of the head. I think it's
Oh,
more
yeah.
professional in high school where you're not worried like, "Oh, Tia's just about to smack me in the
That's
back of the
happened
head
so
because she
many
can't
times.
get it over the net." But then the second you let's say Tia's up to serve, you serve it, those 3 people then get into their formation.
Mhm.
So talk to me because that reminds me of, like, football where you're kind of, like, disguising your zone defense
Yeah.
or something because 'cause they're not going to the same place every time,
Yeah.
or are they?
It's either the coach will either say or switch. I
Okay,
think in certain rotations you're supposed to be on the opposite side of someone and then you're supposed to switch
got it.
or because it depends on I don't know how to explain it. Like it depends on what number you are in your zone,
Mhm,
what your zone is. Like you can't be one step in front of someone else, or you can't be one step to the right of someone else, or it would be called an out of rotation, and the other team would get a point. So you have to know exactly where you are on the court, and you can't move until the ball is served.
yeah, because then the
So
second they serve it, okay, now everybody
yeah, then
goes.
everyone's yeah. But it kind of depends on what the setter or the coach says, whether you move or you stay in your
Mhm.
spot. So yeah,
So you get to wear a cool red shirt.
a cool what?
Red shirt, where everybody else is wearing, like, a black plain
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah,
So
basically.
talk to me about the Libero's special like, why do you get to wear a cool shirt and everybody else has to wear a basic shirt?
Honestly, I don't know. Like,
Is it like
I
all
know
do all teams do
well,
that?
I'm yes, every team
Every
does
team
that.
does
I'm
that.
pretty sure I think I read something about it, and I'm pretty sure it's because the libero is the set defensive specialist. You can't, like, put a libero in front row.
Okay.
Like,
So the
that's
the
not gonna
judges
happen.
know, "Hey, this is where the libero is." So
Yeah,
you're calling out, like, "This is our
yeah,
libero." So that you're not
and
trying to,
they do
like,
that.
hide the libero up
Yeah.
front or something
And we
else.
do that, we do substitutions differently.
Mhm.
So if you're like a hitter or a defensive specialist, then you're gonna sub with them in front of the 10-foot line. But when you're a libero, you can just switch out with the middles and behind the 10-foot line after they serve or before they serve. Like you don't need to call for a
Okay.
substitution.
And
You
then we
just
come
go.
out and we do this cool hand
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
and we
usually.
like to
Yep.
yeah, okay.
That's for the defensive specialists or the hitters. But for libero, you can just go in. You don't have to call the substitution. It won't like dock you points for a substitution.
Okay.
So yeah, um, it's kind of just like you're the set defensive specialist. People know that you are the one that is the best like defensive passer on the team that will like keep the ball away from that person
Yeah.
because like so whenever and you can also serve one time in the rotation because you have to switch. The barrels have to switch out with the middles
Okay.
because they're not the best passers because they're always tall. So
Middles.
the middles, yeah, you can either switch out with them after they serve or
Mhm.
before they serve and serve for them.
Okay.
So
So what
yeah,
was the hardest part of high school volleyball for you to pick up coming into like super organized? What was the thing where you like had to really work at? Was it memorizing plays? Was it positioning that you had to really work on like that was different than like the more casual like volleyball?
yeah. I think I had to work on a lot when I first came into um like the high school volleyball program because what I saw in volleyball was just like being so aggressive to get the ball, just
Mhm.
get the ball up, or when a hitter's hitting at me, I'm just like, I'm right there. So it like that excitement like kind of made me want to be like aggressive and get every ball. But you can't do that
Right.
like with a team that you know is good and that you know that will be there because
Right.
when I was playing with a team that I didn't know, like if I'm playing with a team that I didn't know is gonna get the ball, I'm just gonna take it.
I'm gonna
Like
go get
you're
everything.
not gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. So I would always like I would think about volleyball that way, or if the ball's out or far from the court, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna grab that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that. But when you're in the game, you actually have to like see where the hitter is hitting, like if
Mhm.
their wrist turns, if their wrist is going to tip or if it's gonna hit.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what I had. That was so hard for me to learn about. Like, and it's still like not confusing, but it's still hard for me to adjust to right now because you never know what they're gonna do
Right.
or where they're gonna hit. Like they could be an inconsistent hitter or they're only tipping or they're doing both. They can hit all around. So like seeing how hitters hit and where hitters hit is kind of where I was stuck for a minute because I wasn't just going to get the balls and save the balls. I had to make sure I knew where they were and just like set myself up, get angled right, and make sure it's good and high for the setter to set to a hitter. Cause I feel like the pass is like the one thing that will make a good play. So you have to make sure the pass is high and good for
Mhm.
a setter to be able to set the hitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like learning how to get around like in different spots was hard for me.
Okay. Do you ever play Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero,
Yeah.
yes.
I feel like you would be very good at Guitar Hero. Like,
Might be
I'm
a
gonna
bit
overlay,
like
like, a clip right here of her doing save, 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 save. Because it's not just on, like, serves. You had crazy saves on blocks too. Like, when, like, Goggles is going up for a spike and they block it and it's coming, like,
straight
straight
down,
down, and
yeah.
so you're, like, having to, like
Uh-huh.
right behind her, she just spiked it,
And she's barely
and
coming
she's
down,
barely
yeah.
come down, and you're having to, like, right behind her, try to, like, scoop it up, and
Yeah.
that's, like, the reaction time. Like, the
Yeah.
Guitar Hero was the first thing I thought of, but, like, that
Right.
reaction time, like, you on expert, just like, I feel like you
Yeah.
got it. Like, I don't know what you did. I'm trying to think of, like, in basketball and softball, what applicable position. Nothing really that has, like, because I don't think everybody could be a libero, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to be able to, like,
Yeah.
in a moment's notice, read everything that's happening and then quickly like a goalie, right?
Yeah, make a
Just like a
decision,
pick a
just
side, make a
right.
decision, like because you could easily dive the wrong way,
Mhm.
like, miss the ball, like, to
Yeah.
give me if you had to define, like, to be a good libero, what are the things that stand out to you? Like, what are the qualities or traits that a good libero has?
I'd say control and consistency, because being able to control the ball is really hard, and I think people that watch from afar don't see it, but when
Mhm.
you're on the court and you're getting the ball served at you or you're getting the ball hit at you, it's either floating, like, when people serve, it could either be a float serve or a spin on the
Mhm.
ball. Usually when it's a spin, it's easier to control because it's, like, faster and you just stay there.
Yeah.
But when it's a float, it's like you don't know where it's going, so you're, like, moving and you're like, "Oh, okay, it's right there." So you have to move, but when you need to control the ball, you have to stay there and you have to, like, hold your platform out really, like, strong so it doesn't go any other way.
Mhm.
But you also have to get your feet and hips in the right position as well as your angle. So you gotta like there's a lot like with your body that you have to put onto the court and make sure it's right and consistent and controlled so that they know like they trust you. Your
Right.
team trusts you. Like, oh, the ball's going to Tia. She got that. She can control it. She can get it to the center and we'll get a good hit.
Mhm.
So controlling is very good in that kind of aspect and consistency because you can control a ball, but that can only happen once. Like,
Right.
you gotta be able to do that multiple times and continue to do that in every game and every set. So and that also builds trust as well, like, with your teammates. So control and consistency, I'd say, are the biggest things.
How tired do you get on some plays? Like, there are some like, a lot of plays are quick, right?
You're
It's
right.
like maybe 1, 2 volleys back and forth. There
Mhm.
are some where it's like,
Rally.
bam, 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 and you gotta be ready
Right.
every single
Yeah.
you're like, "Okay, I saved it. Whew, done. Okay, okay, I saved it. Who okay." Like 10, 11 times, like, back,
Mhm.
back, 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 back.
So, in those types of rallies, I'm burnt out. I get so burnt out. Like, cause. It's, like, kind of it's not messy, but it's, like, all over the place, like,
Right.
you gotta see the ball, like, keep looking at the ball, keep looking at the ball, and then you're like, "Oh, it's set this way.
Yeah.
Gotta get right here. Oh, they're tipping. Oh, it's right there." And then I have to get the next ball, so it's just kind of like I'm constantly moving my feet. I don't stay, like I can't stay in one
In just one
spot.
spot, yeah.
So I have to wherever the ball is going, I kind of have to, like, shadow it. I have to
Mhm.
shadow the ball. So I just get I get so burnt out. And then when my middle misses the serve when I'm sitting down, I'm like, "Oh, I can't even get
These
water."
middles,
Like
middles, step it up. No, just kidding. You guys are great. Um, one of the most noticeable things in volleyball compared to basketball. This is funny because basketball has this more than most other sports. So, for example, football, I think celebrations and enthusiasm is on a touchdown, right? It takes a
mhm,
long time to get
right.
it, and you don't get touchdowns all the time. Basketball is better because you have the opportunity to score on almost every play. So you
Mhm.
take it down, layup, 3 pointers, kind of like most times, like,
Okay,
yay,
yeah.
like volleyball is like a mixtape on every play, and it's funny because even, the side that loses the point still has, like, a
Like,
moderate so
okay.
like, a second place
Right.
celebration, like, we're still okay, but on every single score I'm trying to think, like, watching you
Hold on, I'm
guys,
gonna
I'm
cough.
like, "What?" Go ahead.
I feel bad, like
You want some water or something? We got water.
it's okay. Actually, I got a mocha. I can't.
Okay, go for it. I do a lot of talking. But and we'll keep going while you're doing this. But so on in volleyball, so the first game I went to was the Liberty volleyball game, and instantly it was like so I came early and went to the JV game.
Oh,
The JV game was hype for no reason. Like every
actually,
score is like a celebration, like
yeah.
a party. It's a party on the court and it's a party in the stands. So
Mhm.
basketball is a pretty cheery sport. That's not the word I want, but the like crowd
Mhm.
cheers along and stuff. Good plays, a big three. But in volleyball, I'm talking chants. I'm talking
It's
like
crazy.
it's like
Yeah,
intense. Like, and there's a lot of trash talk too.
there is.
Like
There
to
is
the
so
other
much.
team, like a lot of where I've had watched those. I don't know the refs' official names. I'm just gonna call them
Yeah,
refs.
refs.
Like, but the standing ref on top of the net,
Uh-huh. And then the
like
down
turn
ref,
into
yeah.
the crowd, like turn to the
Yes.
coach, like make them stop, like a
Right.
bunch of times where the like it gets like
It
I'd say
gets
way
really
more intense than
intense.
basketball. And again, even in the JV game, it was like pretty.
Yeah.
So do you guys have? It's funny because of how I think of it as like touchdown celebrations. I'm like, you guys got to plan some of those because sometimes I'll be watching. You guys will have full like LeBron James like type your own version
Lol.
of that.
No.
Like you'll have like little dances, little celebration routines.
It's so funny.
So do you guys have it? Because and I also see them on different type of scores. Like if somebody gets a ace, like somebody just scores on a
Mhm.
serve, you'll have a certain thing.
Yeah.
If somebody scores on a spike, you'll have a certain thing. If somebody scores on just a random thing, there'll be a certain celebration.
Okay.
How do we pick those? Are they planned? And do we practice them in practice? Like at the end of practice in basketball, you'll do like half court starts or something. At the end of practice, do you guys like pull out TikTok or something like, hey, we're gonna work on these new like
Actually, there was a TikTok that we did see, and we sent it in the group chat. And we're like, we're learning this
we're
after
doing this.
practice.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
happened once, but we usually like for volleyball teams, there's always a cheer for something. Like
Mhm.
if you're serving, like there'll be a chant for that or a cheer for that.
Yeah.
So I think like everyone already knows the cheers. Like it's already engraved in their brain. So they
Okay.
already know. When someone starts to chant, everyone just goes in on it.
Yeah.
And then when we're cheering after a point, I think it's just whatever comes to your mind. You're just like, "Oh yeah, we got this."
Cause
But
I hear him saying like certain things after certain type of points.
what do you mean
Like some like there's a but everybody will like say the same
like,
word or
"Ah,
something.
ace." Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
for
I'm like
aces.
ski. I'm like,
ev-
what? Like you guys are man, you guys are down.
right. No, we really just make we either make it up during practice
You'll
or
have
during the
like
game
a okay.
or during
So
the
it's like
game.
per team, you guys will have your own
Yeah.
kind of
Or
chant.
like when they hit like during this point we're going to do this.
Yeah.
When that's like when you're on the bench when you're like seeing it happen and you're like when
Yeah.
Jada hits and she gets a kill we're going to do this.
We're
We're going to
gonna
dive on the
okay.
ground. And then either like like it's kind of you just communicate with each
Yeah.
other on the bench or when you're JV on freshman you're just like, "Oh, we're going to say this after they get that
Yeah.
whatever." So, I think most of it is kind of cheers that we already know and that we're going to plan to say.
Mhm.
But other than that, like, on the court, when we're cheering, it's just, like, whatever comes
Whatever
to
comes to
mind,
mind.
yeah.
Okay, because it was super fun and like your JV team then goes to this crowd to watch your game, and they have a ton of cheers for
Yes.
you guys because 'cause I'm, like, filming reactions and
Uh,
stuff. So I'm like, "Oh, they were a whole cheer section."
yeah.
But then it's funny sometimes on a point because I'm recording and I'm usually cutting to the team that scored.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't know which team scored
Yeah.
because you guys are both cheering, like, because 'cause I'm
Yeah.
trying to follow who has more hype. So a point
Yeah.
happens, but maybe it hit the line or something, like, where you can't
Uh-huh.
like, some you can clearly
Clearly,
tell.
yeah.
But on the ones where you can't clearly tell, I'm trying to watch out of the corner of my eye, like, who's cheering harder because
Yeah.
that's who I wanna go to. And a lot of times I'll get it wrong because the team that just lost a point is like, "Hey, good
Yeah.
job, guys." I'm like, "Oh, you guys didn't
Yeah.
score that point."
I feel like
I was just trying to find like who's the most hype immediately, and then
right.
that's who I go to. Whoever like jumps or
Right.
like something like that.
Or, like, I feel like it's there's something sometimes we cheer for something that happened earlier in the play, but they still got the point, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, that was
but
good
still, yeah, yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
that was good, but we didn't
I've
get the
seen a couple
point."
of those where, like, they
Right.
lost that point, but they were still, like, geeks from something, like
Yeah,
a
I'd
good
be like, "Oh, that was
save or
good."
something,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, like, that's kind of what teams do, like, if it happened earlier, they're still gonna give you that, like, praise, like, "Oh, you did
Yeah,
that," but they still got the point.
yeah.
But
It is funny though, because you guys do have, like, these LeBron James-esque
I
celebrations,
know, it's
like, you just came down and windmill 360 dunked it, and, like, you score a point,
they're like, "Wow."
especially at the hitters, and they're like,
Yeah.
like,
Like, "Let's go!"
yeah,
Like,
like,
okay.
it's serious, and that's why I'm, like, watching the score, I'm like, "Man, this is, like, the 1st quarter, we're not even in the end,
Right.
this is, like, the 1st series, it's only
Yeah.
14-5." And again, I like that about volleyball, and I don't think I expected that coming into it,
Mhm.
especially, and I'd watched, like, a bunch of college volleyball, so I didn't really know what to expect, but that I didn't expect it to be more, like, hype than basketball, and it
Yeah.
was, like,
The environment is crazy,
it
I
wasn't
don't
a
know.
playoff game or anything that first one I went to,
Yeah,
but
no.
it was, like, it was lit.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
you guys as a team, how important is team chemistry and so you've had now 3 years of high
Yeah.
school volleyball. Out of those 3 years, I'm sure if you think back, and we don't have to say which year, one of the years is you've probably felt more team chemistry than the others. How much does team chemistry impact volleyball? Because again, basketball at any point if I can score, I can kinda take it myself and do
Uh-huh.
some stuff, but volleyball, you are really reliant. Like, nobody can just one man like, you can one woman save it, but then you can't save it to yourself,
Right.
also set it to yourself,
Uh-huh, and
also
hit it,
spike it.
right.
Like, you really have to like, I can be great at me, but if
It's
the
someone else.
middles aren't doing what they have to,
Middles.
or, you really need everyone to step it up. Like, do you see team chemistry as being, like, a huge factor in like the teams that you like that did better where you're like, oh, this team, like we didn't do that well in this team. Our like we just didn't vibe that
Right.
well.
Yeah, I can there's the team chemistry is, like, 100% something that you definitely need in a team that you know is going to, like, make it big. Because you could have all the talent, you could have all these players that are good at their specific spot, like but coming together as a team and trying to work as a team
Hmm.
is different than yourself. Like, you know you can do this, you know you can do that, but without a pass, without a set, you can't do what you need to do. So I think that like being on the same page with your team is something that you need to consider when you're playing on the court with them as well. It's more it's like a mindset and a it's like a mindset thing. That's what I'm trying to say. But I did see like you asked me who like what team I saw that had more chemistry than the other.
Hmm.
My sophomore year actually, when I first had started, that was the most chemistry I'd ever seen. Like in my high school years with our seasons, that was the most chemistry we've ever had. And we fought really hard with each other and we made it really like big in playoffs. We went to state. But I think that that team chemistry was just we were just on top of everything. It was controlled. Everything was um like organized and we knew how to do things with each other. We knew how to oh, play with this person or when this person is back row with me, I know where I know her tendencies.
Hmm.
I know what she's going to do and I know what that hitter's going to do. So I think that being on the same page and I don't know, like even like what's the word? I'm trying to find a word.
Tacos.
Even tacos. like
I have no
like,
idea what word you're going for. Sorry, I
I'm
know I
like
threw off
trying
your thought process.
it's okay.
Give me a
like
word. Tacos.
uh anyways, I can't find the word. It's like you have to work kind of like your family, like
Hmm.
you have to see them inside and
Yeah.
outside. Their attitude, their mentality, their work ethic. So you kind of have to get on their same level. Like
Yeah.
everyone has to be leveled out.
Synergy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Synergy.
cohesive.
Right.
Like, okay. Those are
So
better words than taco.
yeah, but that's kind of how I see it.
Okay. As far as training, so what day to day, like walk me through like what training looks like for you as far as like getting yourself ready for volleyball. Do you spend a lot of time doing conditioning, doing weights, doing like what's important in a libero's role? Is your like getting yourself ready for the season or just like keeping yourself in shape during the season?
I used to be really consistent with going to the gym at like 4 a.m. before school. I used to go every day,
Mhm.
4 a.m., go to the gym, go to school, and then I had practice after. But I recently got a job and it's just like been really like mentally draining. So I was just like, I'm not gonna do this 4 a.m. stuff anymore. Like I'm not done with that.
When you go to gym at 4 AM, what would you do? Like, did you have a routine where like, okay, I'm doing or I'm focusing on specific things?
Mhm. So, I used to go with my dad,
Mhm.
and because I didn't really know what was, like, in the gym, I was like, "I know I gotta run,
Right.
I know I gotta do all this and that, but I don't know how to use the machines." Like,
Yeah.
so, me and my dad, we mostly worked on my leg work
Mhm.
and, like, kind of like fast movements, like, I would stack those I forgot what they're called.
Boxes, like the jump
Yeah, the little
box.
jump boxes, I
Yeah.
used to stack those and, like, jump over it, like,
Mhm.
quick feet, and then or yeah, the actual jump boxes. I'd work on that with my vert, and then I'd have my dad would have me do like the medicine balls and like
Yeah.
throw it up to like the 11 feet, and I'm like I am not hero. I'm not a hero right now. Like I don't need to train for all this, but he had me like throw the medicine ball above 11 feet
Yeah.
every time we went, and then every time we went, we'd also run 4 miles,
Mhm.
and then I could go on the stairmaster if I wanted to, but
You're like,
not after 4 miles.
not
I'm not
today.
doing that. And then we work on my core as well. But yeah, that's mostly what we did. But it was always on the legs. It was always something to do with my legs. So I know like I'll have that muscle in my legs. So I really need my legs for
Right.
for being a libero. Like you gotta stay low. You gotta stay in that position for a while and you gotta hold it too.
Mhm.
And you're moving side to side, like laterally. Like so it's just there's a lot of um movement in the legs for my position.
So when you look back at your career so far, thinking of like a career moment or like a career highlight, what's been like a high point in a specific game or something you have? So I try to think of like the libero position and think like, what is your like walk off three? Like, what's your version of like Steph Curry hitting a game winning three? Is it
Mm,
like it's 24 to 24 and you like get like a
mm.
really good save bump? Like, what is your highlight? Like, if you did, like, what's the best thing you could do?
Yeah. I feel like in the 5th set, it's always, like, very competitive, so
Mhm.
everyone's playing on their A game, and I feel like getting really good, like, digs against another
Yes, that's
not
the word I
even,
was
like
looking for.
yeah, not even, like, saving, like, not
Mhm.
even saving, but, like, being in the right spot, right when, like or when a middle hits, those are the hardest people to defend,
Mhm.
and when a middle hits and I get that, it's just, like, the best feeling in the world because people are like, "Yeah, you did that," and it's just like
So does everyone else know it happened? Like,
yeah.
when you get a good dig,
Mhm.
people like
Because
your
yeah,
team knows. They're
they'll
like,
know because
"Ah."
they know that middles are so, like, aggressive, like, those are probably the best hitters, but they
Mhm.
don't get set as often because it's hard to set a middle if the pass is off just by a bit.
Mhm.
So, whenever the middles do get set, it's like, "Oh, shoot, I really gotta lock in for this
Right.
one. I need to get down, I need to get low, I need to be in the right spot." But, like, when they hit really good so when middles hit, we say, like, they bang 10 because the 10-foot line is, like do you know I forgot, like, the line right by where I stand. I don't know,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
like, that's kind of where my base is. So, like, there's, like, the 10-foot line, and then
Mhm.
I'm standing right here. But middles usually hit, like, right in front of it or right on the 10-foot line, and those are really hard to get up.
So it's more of like a straight down
It's
hit.
yeah, it's like a straight
Right.
down or, like, in the corner straight, like so getting those digs against middles are what really makes my like, highlight, like, the highlight of my game.
So senior year, when we're looking at what we've done so far, we're looking forward to the playoffs. Where do you see this journey taking you? Do you want to play in college? Like, what are the next steps for you kind of post high school?
Yeah, so I really do wanna play volleyball in college because, like, that's when I first started playing my sophomore year, I was like, "I really wanna stick with this sport." I like the competitiveness. I loved everything about it, and I've always wanted to just play even more competitively,
Mhm.
especially in college. Like, I see videos all around, and I'm like, "I wanna be like them. I wanna play against them," because just, like, the environment around it is just so exciting, and I like to see that on like, when I see that on social media, I'm like, "That sounds really fun." It looks like something I could see myself doing in the future. So I really do want to play volleyball in college, and I think I can get that opportunity. But yeah.
Okay. Are there any specific places you're interested in? Any specific do you have an idea of, like, somewhere you'd like to go? Like, what are your favorite schools?
So I've always wanted to be somewhere either in California
Mhm.
or Arizona
Okay.
because
So you wanna stay on the West
it's not
Coast.
too far.
Yeah.
It's not too far from my parents. Like when they need me, I'll be there,
Yeah.
or when I miss them, I'll be there. So it's not too far, but it's also like far enough where I can have my own independence and like I don't need to rely on them as much. Um, but I think that it'd really be fun because I'm used to the community and everything like that. But I wouldn't mind going somewhere else. Like I had Grambling State,
Mhm.
they're in Louisiana. They were looking at me, and I feel like going in Louisiana is just a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love to stay close by, but I also would love to go and explore new things, like see things from a different perspective. I said that so much. This
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, no.
But like different cultures and different traditions, like I just want to be able to experience that as well when I'm going to college because that's probably the only time I'll be able to get to experience it. Because after college, you're really on your own. Like you
Yeah.
really got to figure out
Welcome
what
to
you need to do.
adulthood.
Yeah.
So, outside of sports, do you have kind of an anticipated major or field of study that you're interested in?
Yeah. I want to major in business and marketing,
Okay.
but
What is it about business and marketing that intrigues you?
money.
Money. Okay.
Well, my mom is a realtor. She's a real estate
Mhm.
agent. And I've been doing a lot with her, like ever since I was young. I've always like been her right hand. So I already know like some of the things that are going on around that kind
Mhm.
of environment. So it's just like being around it the whole time, like ever since I was young, it's just like, oh, I can see myself working in this kind of community. So
Looking at, again, your journey starting volleyball a little bit later, when you look at your volleyball career, who are the people, we'll start with in the volleyball space, that have been your mentor, support system? I know you mentioned like Lexi a little bit
mhm,
earlier. Like, who are the people who taught you the system and the game and kind of like built you up into the player you are now?
yeah, I would definitely say Lexi because I don't know, she taught me things on and off the court, like about the whole game and about how you need to be able to play, how you need to set yourself apart from other people and how to stand out. She just taught me how different it is when you're actually looking at the game, when you're really looking inside the game. So she helped me a lot with kind of about everything I know about volleyball. And there was a lot of important factors that she taught me. And it just like it really helped throughout my overall journey. But my family as well too, they have always like been competitive with me. So I think that like having that competitiveness made me want to be competitive and made me want to be better. So yeah, I'd say both them and Lexi.
Did your parents play sports that you
Yeah.
know of?
They played so my dad played football. He
Mhm.
went to Dixie first and then he transferred to Louisiana Tech and he played football there for a while and graduated from Louisiana Tech. And then my mom played volleyball.
Uh,
So
what
yeah, I think
position?
that's Libero.
So
Yep.
there was a little, hey, it's in the
Yeah.
family already.
Yep. Those are is that the only sport you played? Yeah.
All right. So look at me. Don't look that way.
I'm
Look
sorry.
right here.
I'm sorry.
Right here.
Okay.
All right. Don't. Who is so you're how old?
17.
Okay. At 17, first answer that you gotta say it quick.
Okay, okay,
All
okay.
right. Who is the barrel of barrel at 17?
Me.
Uh, just checking.
Me.
Just check. I
Just
didn't
kidding,
want it to end. I
I've
didn't.
never seen her I've
Okay.
actually never seen her play.
Okay. We gotta pull up some of those old highlights. So did your mom help you at all during the journey? Like, I don't know if train you is the right word, but like give you pointers, give you like, cause she knows the game, right? Not only does she know the game, she knows that specific position. So
Right.
I think that would be extremely beneficial. Like, hey, I'm new to it. She can like give me the inside tips and stuff on like, here's how it works,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, my mom helped me a lot. Like she's always in the back of my ear. She's always like, "You need to roll. You need to do this. You need to be on see the block. It's
You're out
going
of
cross."
position.
Yeah, she's
And
like,
you
"It's
can
going
hear her in the
cross.
stand.
It's going cross." I can literally hear her in the stands, but I'm like, I'm just staying like I know what she's saying. Like she knows where to play, like the exact positions and where to go as well, but it's just that she can't really, train with me because I don't know, it's like
Mom, you gonna let her talk about you like that?
she
Ugh.
can't train with me, but I can hear her constructive criticism. I can definitely say that she has that going on for her. But yeah.
There's a scenario of like with a parent, because there's always this point in parenting where you start to realize that your child is exceeding your skills. And at some point as a parent, you have to give in without conceding giving in. So I
Mhm,
have a 16-year-old that plays
mhm,
basketball. And at some point, so we were one day at South Point, and there's some part of South Point going towards the radio where they have like those walkways on the ground that move, and they were both stopped.
mhm.
And so I'm like, oh, we're about to race. And again, as an adult in your head, one thing you'll learn as you grow up, you're always the same person you were. Like, you still remember the memories of you playing the sport, of you running track. Like,
Mhm.
in my head, I'm still as fast as I was when I was like, unless I'm running every day telling myself I'm not,
Right.
I remember 360 windmill and like I can still do that because I
Right.
haven't shown that I couldn't. And so, but there's these times as an adult and as a parent
Let me get humble.
where you get humbled, where you're like, all right, we're about to race. And in your head, so we start the race and we're going and I'm dusting them. Then, but in my head, I'm like, legs, run faster. Like, they're not moving the way. But in my head, you still like, as an athlete growing up, like, you know how to play fast and do. But at
Mhm.
some point, your body stops
Just
agreeing
be
with your
shutting down.
mind. And then you kind of just have to basically how I did it. You have to find a win and then bow out. So you got to beat them at something. It's
Yeah.
like even if it's rock paper scissors, your mom just has to beat you
Right.
and then never play you again. So now anytime you mess up or something, she still has it over
She's
you.
like,
She's
"Oh,
still like,
I
you,
remember that
hey,
time."
I'm still the champ. Like you have to listen to
Right.
me because you can't let them win. Because as soon as you beat her, and she doesn't get another go to beat you, it's like, now you so it's this nice balance
Right.
of, like, passing the torch kind of,
Yeah.
but still letting you know, like, "Hey, mom still got" if you really wanted to go, like, she just has to make you think
Right.
that at any moment right now, she could take you in some form or fashion, but then at
Right.
some point you lose, and it's kinda like,
So,
like, again, you're passing the torch, "Here's the crown, now you have it, but don't come at me." Like,
basically.
yeah. But it's funny because kids, they know it, right? They know when they start to get that upper hand and like, yeah, she's like, you don't
Yeah.
let the mom know. You're like, okay, mom, you're good. Like, and then you get around your
Okay.
friends, you're like, not a chance. Oh, getting old. It's so great. Um, so I think you had a special journey, starting later, but still being able to excel. Again, making varsity right away, being able to pick up things, I think, a lot faster than most people would have kind of in their first year or so
Mm.
in the sport. Um, if you look at the things you did to prepare you that got you to where you are in these last 3 years, for a younger you, for another girl who's starting in volleyball a little bit later, maybe she's just starting in high school, like what advice would you give them? What are the things that like worked well for you? Are there any things that you learned, like hard lessons that you wish, like information you wish you would have had at the beginning?
I think that as an athlete and as you're playing on a if you're playing on a team sport or individually, it's always going to be about your mindset. Your mindset is always something that can either put you really down or get you really up.
Hmm.
So you can't I have a coach. Well, in one of my classes, Coach H, he he gives me some very good tips, and he said something that said, "Don't get too high on the highs or too low on the lows." And I think that's something that you really need to take in as an athlete because it's really hard to get out of a slump. Like when you're losing and you're losing, you're losing, you're like, oh, this is all my fault. You put it all on yourself
Right.
or on your team, and then it's just like the energy is everywhere. So you just kind of need to you got to be mutual with everything. You can't expect to win a game or you can't expect to lose a game. You just got to play your game. So I think that having a good mindset around your teammates and kind of pushing them too as well but will, like, I don't know, will make you a better player yourself. So I don't think you should, like, if you're younger, I think you should, I don't know, think more mentally about the game and not as much as on the court. Like, in that moment,
Mhm.
you have to know where things are and what things are, like, what is going to happen, and you got to think, how am I going to react to this? So
You have
it's
to
not.
understand the game, not
Yeah.
just play it.
Yeah, so you're like, reactions, attitude, and everything in that aspect, it shows on the court. So you need to, I don't know, keep it even and keep it in one good, like, mental space so it's not all over the place, and then it will go in someone else's, like, head and make them overthink, and then it just goes all around. So you just gotta make sure you're doing your part and what you're thinking, what you're doing for the team. So yeah.
Okay. So I want people to be able to find you on social media. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the camera right in front of you and have you look at that camera and give us your Instagram handle.
Okay, guys. My Instagram is Tia TIA underscore ALOFIPO.
All right. So last question with where you guys are right now with the Liberty team, 2 games left in the season. How do you feel about the playoffs?
I'm excited. I'm not really, people get nervous about going to the playoffs, but I
Hmm.
feel like it's really a good opportunity to learn whether we lose or not. Like, it's a good opportunity to learn about more things and how to react to certain things and how to react with your team and how to uplift them or to keep them going if we are winning. So I think playoffs is going to be really exciting because there is going to be competitive teams that we get to play against that we've either lost to or we've either won to already.
Hmm.
So there's not really things that we can expect from them. They're going to come out with, like, different mindset, different plays, and we just got to adjust to it fast and quick, and we just got to learn how to play together as a team. And I feel like it would be really, really fun because it's different this year as well.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking time to join us on the
of course.
podcast. Want to thank you guys for watching as well. Again, my name's Drew Jackson. This is the Anything for Sports podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Anything for Sports, and you can find us on YouTube at Anything for Sports TV. Like and subscribe, and talk to you guys later.